Hello again, my name is Tim B. Green and this is Crush It Club episode 212. My computer suddenly and unexpectedly died, so it's going to be decidedly low tech. I will put all sorts of links or cards, or more accurately, I will at least put them in the description because I'm stuck with my Android phone for the foreseeable future until I can get my computer repaired. Okay, so today what I want to talk about is an article I wrote on LinkedIn quite a while ago now, and I called it Dopamine Dealers. It's about the parallels between MDMA and dopamine and how they work in your brain, and more particularly how sales tactics, especially unethical sales tactics, utilize dopamine in a way that is very, very similar, almost disturbingly similar to the neurological activity of MDMA. So I'm going to get into that in just a moment. That is MDMA, or Molly, or Ecstasy is obviously a famous drug that a lot of people know about. A drug usually used at parties, and its main effects are you feel like you have a lot of fun, you feel great on it, you feel happy, all these things. Anybody who actually takes this stuff experiences perhaps what probably feels like the best day or night or experience of their life, because essentially what they're doing is they're taking their serotonin, which is one of the drugs that's associated with happiness and feelings of connection. The other one's oxytocin, but this is the one in particular that MDMA acts upon or releases into your system or into your brain. And what it does is it essentially is like taking the neurotransmitter, dumping it into the gap, what's called the synaptic cleft between two different neurons. It dumps it into the gap between the two that they normally communicate using those neurotransmitters, but it dumps like a week's worth into the empty spaces, those clefts, and then the receiving neuron, the neuron that receives those, it attaches to the receptors, and now you feel happy, you feel accepted and warm and loving and understood. Many people have reported experiences that it might be like, this is the person I really am, this is the person I have always wanted to be, and now I know what that feels like. This is, of course, an illusion because you're just taking the happy juice from a week and you're squeezing it out in a space of 8 to 10 hours. Now, the way MDMA works is it releases this. It's called a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. As I said, there's lots of links to most of the stuff I'm talking about. I wish I could have a cool background for you. And essentially, it wrings out this juice, this happy juice, or releases the happy juice. And it isn't the MDMA that actually makes you high or feel the experience of being high and happy. It's actually the serotonin itself. It releases the serotonin from this one, and the neurotransmitter serotonin goes across to the the receptors on the receiving side neuron, and that is what gives you the experience that is the high of doing MDMA. And because it's a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor, that's a fancy way of saying that, let's imagine I had a straw here. And instead of just drinking the drink out of here, I put a straw in it and sucked it up. That's what reuptake is, essentially. Reuptake is the neuron, the releasing neuron, sucking back the extra serotonin that wasn't used. So after this serotonin is released, it is not pulled back because that reuptake or sucking up of those neurotransmitters is inhibited by the MDMA. So it stays there, and it stays there for a half-life. MDMA's half-life is about 8 hours. So it means after 8 hours, you feel the half of the effect of the high that you're experiencing. It weakens by 50% every 8 hours. So after 8 hours, it's half. After 16 hours, it's a quarter. The experience for those who have actually done it report it's usually between 6 to 8 or 10 hours, somewhere in there, that they actually feel the experience in a significant way. And then at the end of it, they kind of usually are tired and they maybe feel a little sad because the happiness is they can feel the happiness going away because the serotonin has been consumed, and because it wasn't taken back up, they've actually taken their whole supply and released it into these synaptic clefts. Now, what happens with some people who don't understand the way this works, a lot of these party kids, is that they'll try to take more MDMA to continue because it's like, I'm having so much fun, I don't want this to stop. They take more, but it has no effect because all of the serotonin that produced their high is already there. But they're consuming it, and there's really nothing left in the cell or in the neuron to be released. Sort of like taking a washcloth and wringing out all the water and then wringing it out again. You might get a tiny little bit more. But this is also what on the street they would probably call chasing the high, I think is the term they might use. Maybe that's old, but that's one I heard years ago when it was first kind of entered when I was doing neuroscience. So they can't get the high, they're kind of getting sad and they're tired, so they usually go to sleep. A little bit depressed, a little bit tired, but that's okay, they're going to sleep. They go to sleep and the next day they wake up. And they tend to be, not everybody, but a good portion of the population, so much so that I've heard they have language like, if you use this drug on Saturday, it's like sad Sunday, moody Monday, terrible Tuesday. And the language they use suggests that those who actually experience this sort of after ecstasy depression experience it for the better part of a week. And a lot of the literature about it says that 5-HTP, which is 5-hydroxytryptophan, is one of the precursors, one of the things your brain uses to build new serotonin. So a lot of them will go to the drugstore and get this 5-HTP, which is a supplement used to help you sleep and stuff. And they'll take large quantities of this to replenish their wringed out happy juice. But for those who are susceptible or those who experience this, they're depressed, sometimes hopeless, sometimes even suicidal for a good chunk of or more than a week as a result of taking this drug. So this is just the introduction. This is going to be the first part. Now, dopamine doesn't necessarily work in the same way, but it's analogous to the ecstasy trip I just described to you. You go up, you're happy, you stay there for a while, you come back down, now you're depressed and you've got this sense of loss, this sense of missing, especially after you wake up the next day. The depletion of your serotonin means that happy juice, which normally would have lasted you a week, is already gone. Now you have to persevere through that period of time for that serotonin supply, for your brain to resynthesize and recover that serotonin supply over the next period. So in the next episode, which will be Crush It Club 213, either by this phone or hopefully by my computer if there's a miracle, I'm going to talk about how this is parallel to what dopamine dealers do to manipulate your feelings, to make you feel like this is the solution to all your problems, to make you feel like life just isn't as great as it should be, and this will. So they actually they design the way they sell their things, especially the unethical ones, in such a way that it makes you feel fantastic to be part of it, fantastic, you get excited, they keep giving you dopamine hits, dopamine hits, dopamine hits, so that you feel like you're really rewarded and you want to buy it. You buy the product and it doesn't work out like you thought. That's it for Crush It Club 212. We'll continue tomorrow with how dopamine and the way it's manipulated by dopamine dealers is the same as the trip that is ecstasy. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.